right, we're here at Bannermans. This is a Scapegoat Underground podcast, number 1. This is the pilot. The whole point of this is to showcase... Yeah, it's not really, is it? But we're here to showcase the underground scene in Scotland and UK. So we've got Duncan Mountain here, Red Cross promoter, also Cult Master, and God knows what else you're into at the minute. You're doing lots of shit. We've got Curious Castaway Mike right here, and you got Disposable Billy down the end, Thrash Willie. So we're just going to chat some shit and just go over things that have happened, gigs, bands, all that sort of lot. So we'll start off with what's been happening recently. Come on.
I just had the Red Cross Festival.
Yes, you did.
So that was good to get that out. And,
yeah, man.
It went well.
Man, I was going to say that you've taken on a lot with taking it on with somewhere as big as LaBelle as well. And that was a 2-dayer, like full days, absolutely packed, mostly Edinburgh bands.
Yeah.
It was a big thing to take on.
I think it was just to kind of... if I just put it on in no disrespect, like in Bannermans or Opium, some of the local bands maybe wouldn't have been as passionate about it, maybe.
Yeah.
So I just thought, some people have never played LaBelle, just give them a chance to play LaBelle.
Yeah.
You want to give the bands that element of fear of the venue being quite large.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, because even amongst like the Disposable Boys, if it's in LaBelle, it's like, oh, we better be quite good for this one.
Yeah, bring the A game.
That's a venue that's quite big, by our standards. You can fit, 600, 700 people in it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's the next venue. Carlton Studios.
I mean, you're not going to be playing to that many people, like a band like us, unless you're supporting someone really big. But, there's definitely a benefit to playing at a festival or something in a bigger place, because it's encouraging the bands to promote it a bit more.
I think one of my biggest fears is that people weren't going to stick around for every band. But that wasn't the case. And that was kind of like my only fear with the numbers that.
But it was like a proper showcase of what Edinburgh has to show right this moment. There was the odd band that was from a bit further afield, like Glasgow and stuff like that, but most of them were Edinburgh bands.
I think the aim was to make it nearly all Edinburgh, and then there was just one or two kind of choice picks for myself. Like 1968 or Zora from Ireland. I think they were just bands I just like, and I just thought, it's my festival, I can get them in the mix.
As a promoter, you've got to be passionate about the gig you're putting on. You may as well serve yourself a little bit.
I think, it's trying to cover a lot of things, but the styles are mainly, doom, stoner, sludge, things like that. And there's not loads of bands like that in Edinburgh. There's enough, but there's not like hundreds.
Yeah.
So you have to get a few from elsewhere as well, I think.
But it wasn't like a singular genre build. There was lots of different things going on. Like what was that? Like drum insanity.
So the Harbinger's drum crew.
That's them.
Yeah.
That definitely spiced up the evening.
That was like probably the best gig I've had this year in Opium. Had them involved.
Well, what were they throwing down?
It's really weird, like just straight up percussion. Just like I'm quite apprehensive to use it, but it's very festival Beltane drum shows sort of stuff, but done in a kind of more metalized way.
Yeah,
that sounds awesome.
It does feel like you're listening to a metal band. Like they do kind of like click together, and it does sound like a
There are
riff.
some like
it's cool.
drum patterns, for example, that is like you can hear like YYZ coming through, like da 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 and stuff like that. So they've got like whiffs of like metal tunes in the back.
Yeah.
But I ran over to Duncan when they started playing. And I was like, how fast is it going to be to find a doom band to try and just book them as their drummer?
Yeah.
And just get one guy with a bass, like tune it to F. Like, well, they're just absolutely going for it.
So how many of them are there? Like,
it can be anything from like 15 to 30 of them.
Wow.
And on the day there was about 25 or something like that. And
the LaBelle stage is pretty big, and there wasn't enough room for them.
all.
Literally, at one point, one of the performers nearly fell off the stage because
it must have sounded
out of room.
huge.
Yeah,
is there footage of them?
There should be.
Alan
I think
took some.
Bruce Carey's pretty much working his way through all the videos actually. So the Foodlip, which is just a great channel in general actually, if you want to just see what's going on in Edinburgh.
Bruce is made out of iron girders.
Yeah, he as far as I know,
he is, man.
Yeah, he's got a video for like every band at the festival.
Yeah, he's done us a few times, I think. As well,
I've known Bruce for fucking ages, and he's always that guy. He's always down the front, but he never wears ear defense. And he's been to some fucking gigs, which like Nadja, which is just like an extreme noise band. Hef was doing the sound, and it was like 119 dB. And then he's just like walking about, hey man, how's it going? I had ear protection in, and my ears were fucking ringing. And he was like, never wearing them, don't care, it's alright. Like,
what you'll find is though, is it's probably degraded quite slowly over the years, and he's not aware of how bad it's become.
Probably.
Whereas if you were to give him his hearing back from 10 years ago, he'd be like, wow, why is it
Oh my
so fucking
God.
loud in here?
but honest to God, it's like he is at pretty much every aggro show. And he was kind of inspiration, if you want to call it, because he was at every show and he didn't really care about like the exposure that he was personally getting or anything like that. No. It was just going and doing the footage, the stills the bands were needing.
You know, it's kind of like if you go on his channel, he's got something crazy like 500 videos from 7 years worth of gigs or something.
Yeah, it's a lot of videos.
Mental how many gigs he goes to. Yeah.
So. And it's not just local, he goes and travels and does all sorts of stuff now, man. It's really good. But yeah, so I know it's difficult because it was your baby, but what was your highlight of your festival?
I think, Zora for me were kind of probably the band that usually when you're a promoter, you get contacted by a lot of kind of local bands and kind of, usually bands you've never heard of, and you have to listen to them and just see if you like it, does it float your boat. When Zora got in contact with me, I was like a fan already. And that was like the first time a band where I've gone, I already know your stuff. It's awesome. Absolutely 100% you can play the festival. So that was a bit of like a guilty pleasure to book them. So for me, that was probably the highlight.
Yeah.
But also just seeing like, Juniper Grave and King Witch for me.
They always smash the shit out of it.
They I've done all their kind of, local gigs and stuff, and to me, like, they're just getting better and better and better.
We were talking about the Juniper Grave album launch in the church as well. That was probably one of my favorite gigs of last year.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, as well as such an unorthodox space. Yeah. Like, there's been a lot of kind of unorthodox gigs happening nowadays instead of it just constantly being the same 5, 10 venues or whatever it is. I'm kind of enjoying that nowadays.
Yeah.
I like the idea of being creative with the actual space of where the gig's happening.
Yeah.
It's like...
I think get people want to get along to it as well. That was the eye opener for me with that one.
Yeah.
I think people who maybe just don't always go to normal gigs just made it out for that one.
Yeah.
Because it was
kind
in a
of
church.
Like, well, why the fuck are they doing it at Summer Hall?
Like the Author and Punisher gig.
Yeah, that was good.
I can imagine a lot of people just came along because it was in Summer Hall.
Well, it's a very odd space. It's like if you've got an L shape and it's at a slight angle, the gig's in the corner of the L shape. So the bar's down one far end, and then you've got the sound desk at the other. So it was busy. You could feel the presence of the people that were there. But again, it's like if you could walk easily through the crowd because it is such an odd space. So it didn't feel busy or quiet, sort of thing. So it's a cool space. I thoroughly recommend Summer Hall.
But I think it was a good idea of them to do it in a place that was different to all the venues that everybody is used to.
And as well as someone like Author and Punisher, which is just weird in the first place, man.
Yeah.
Like,
it's an experience as well as a gig, but it's like visually watching a lot as well.
Yeah, man. As I say, I'm trying to cut through that video right now, and it's punishing my eyes because the light show is just too much for me, man. I'm getting old. Like, I'm getting too fucking old.
You'll find this kind of an underappreciated part of like underground music because a lot of the bands will just play where they get gigs.
Yeah.
And like the idea of your own stage show is either quite a small one or nothing at all. It's just you rock up to the venue and you've maybe got a backdrop. But
I've always been that thing that I walk away from a show most of the time with a visual aspect. I'm trying my best always to be like, oh, that band sounded great or whatever, but to make sure that I'm truly involved, even a really simple stage show like Dragged into Sunlight, crazy strobe lights, or like I'll say Gay Panic Defense. Like, they go in dresses and they're like total fucking over the top. These are really simple things that they're doing, but it's engaging as well. So it makes you pay attention, and that also helps it as well, kind of evolve.
It's good in terms of just being memorable as well. You know, if a random tourist was perhaps at a Gay Panic Defense gig, and then they forgot what the band was and they went home, all they would have to do is find someone in Scotland who's involved in the underground scene. Oh, who's that sort of like power violence band that play in dresses? And you know who they are. But you went, oh, who's the metal band with the the one with the 4 dudes with the long hair? You kind of go, well, here's all of it.
Because the other thing as well is, like, I keep going back to it, is that Dreadfest, like the venue, old Slaughterhouse. And then the thing is that they changed it into a gig venue and like, as I say, vegan restaurant, and like it's got a radio station and like a studio upstairs and all this sort of lot. But fair enough, there was music that was there that I liked, but also the venue really fucking helped. Like it was dingy and a squat and weird and all
Is
that.
this Temple of Boom?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Temple is fucking awesome.
Yes,
man.
it's
Like,
class.
They have something similar in Manchester, don't they?
Is that Rebellion?
Well, no, not the festival, but like they have a venue. And I think it's like managed sort of by the guys of Nod. Mm-hmm. And they have different artists there, like art installations, and you can go and, I don't know, take part in activities around there. And that sounds like a really cool thing.
Yeah, like
more of these things I think are popping up around the place for people to actually go do this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, we like doing this. Let's get a dedicated place.
Well, me
do
and your bandmate Jack were talking about this last night, that we've kind of started now just calling everything metal, even if it's not metal.
Yeah,
it's like that just feels metal, so yeah, that's cool too.
Yeah.
So that artwork's metal, or like that poetry's metal, or whatever it is. You know, like it doesn't have to be like thrash.
Like I speak to him about Game of Thrones, and I'm like, I don't watch Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
But he's like so into it, and I'm like, what do you like about it? He's like, it's just metal as fuck.
Yeah.
Maybe not the current season.
Yeah.
We won't get into that.
Maybe not going to.
Not derailing this conversation in a fantasy wank on my fucking time, friend.
We'll talk D&D another time also.
Yeah, you can do a D&D episode all the fuck you want.
What I like about that phrase though is that it's kind of like, it doesn't have to be metal in terms of like what metal actually is.
Agreed.
It's basically just Jack's favorite thing is metal. So
Yeah.
anything good is metal.
Yeah.
You know, it's
I would just say, is it heavy? That's like my only thing
it's
for
heavy.
gigs. You know.
Yeah.
I think in Edinburgh you haven't got the luxury of always like having 4 bands of one style. Nor does that always make a good gig.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you have to just put the thrash
that-
band with a hardcore band. you know,
Well,
something
I
like
have
that,
seen
and, you know,
some gigs though
like
that like the competition is fierce. Like if you have like 3 tech death bands on or whatever it is, it's like top trumps to see who can fucking make it the most savage and fast and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But I would say that's 1 in every 20 or something like that. There's I kind of get what you're saying, that complacency comes with like just one style of music being on a gig.
I think as well, like sometimes, especially like purely from a promoter's point of view, I'll put on a gig in Glasgow because I think that the local bands are better for that style.
Yeah.
So like especially like stoner rock stuff. There's just more bands in Glasgow that do that.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't know if like maybe with thrash right now, I think Edinburgh's pretty good right now.
Yeah, I
I think.
would say so.
Yeah. So maybe
You
like
started a trend, bro.
yeah.
Trendsetters.
Yeah.
CST till the very end.
Yeah, man. Fucking 10-year homeboys.
I know.
I know,
Been
man.
around the block now.
Yeah, when's that actually happening? Like the anniversary show?
The actual anniversary is August 28th.
Yeah.
That's 10 years to the day of our first ever show at the Craigiefield Hotel in Pennycook. When I was, when we got that, we were like, oh my god, it's in Pennycook. Like that's where the metal is.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember the names of the Pennycook bands that were around then. I think Dog Tired existed in some kind of way.
Yeah.
Because they've been around for a while. And there was a
dawn
band called
of
like
time.
Holy Bartender or something.
Yeah.
And I can't remember Matt Lydiard's old band.
Yeah.
I can't remember what they were called, but bands at the time we were like, oh my god, they're like
Cream of the crop, bro.
Yeah, the proper.
I was in the
big
recording
Scottish
studio
metal bands.
with Unholy Bartender when they were recording their first ever EP, I think.
Really?
I was at uni and
Little fresh faced Duncan.
yeah, I just said somebody I was on a course with. I just said, can I just like come along to a session that when you're next recording a metal band?
Yeah.
So I went to that.
Nice.
Wow.
Didn't do a thing. I just ate biscuits and
Just
play some microphones
Nice.
around camps and stuff.
Kind of
And now look
I
at
feel
you.
like I'm doing it in the studio.
Got festivals going and everything.
Yeah, man. Look how far we've come.
Yeah, that's man. So I had 10 years coming up.
Yeah,
the,
man.
The 10-year anniversary show's on September 7th
Nice.
in Opium.
I'll try to
Line
pick it
up.
off.
Who's on that? Oh, Ifrian, no doubt.
No,
Oh,
we've got a travelling band from Belgium called Lethal Injury,
nice.
which is kind of part of. They're helping us out when we do our Euro tour.
Yeah.
So I said I would help them out. And then we've got Tempered, who are a Glasgow thrash band, really, really great band. Unfortunately, their vocalist, who is from New Zealand, he's going home.
Ooh.
So I don't know what the vocalist situation is going to be come September.
Yeah.
At the moment, I'm penciled in to just do that show for
cool.
them. Nice. So I was like, yeah, I'll do it. I'm kind of hoping they organise something else before then, but if not, it'll be.
Well,
me.
you kind of like you're being the general dog's body at the minute, like last night's gig, for example.
Aye.
So, fill us in about that. How did that go?
It was good, man. Everything went according to plan. I was dead pleased with myself. I thought I'd done pretty well.
Looked like you were having fun.
I was definitely having fun. See, that was my first gig ever where I haven't had to do vocals. So I've never played a gig in 10 years of gigging where I've not been the vocalist in whatever band it was. Which is odd because I ain't that good at vocals, man.
Just to clarify, Billy subbed in for the bass player of Certain Death last night.
Yes,
Good crack.
At the Siberian Meat Grinder show.
Siberian Meat
Bannermans.
Yeah,
It was good, man.
we can. It's not smell-o-vision, but you can still smell the gig from last night while we're sitting on stage here.
Yeah, it's kind of weird that my chair is exactly where I was standing. Like,
Pretty much, yeah. So
quiet in here now.
we're in the dank sweatiness of Billy's post-gig. Is pretty much it.
You could take a DNA swab of where I'm sitting right now, and my sweat from last night is probably going to be there.
Probably,
Nice.
yeah. Let's make little Billies.
Let's make our own.
Start a band.
I'm not sure that's how it works, but
Yeah, true.
we can try.
We can try.
Yeah.
But no, it was really good. What a turnout for a
Yeah,
Wednesday night in
Wednesday
Edinburgh,
night, man. Yeah.
Really
Pretty
good
good.
turnout. Pretty much packed front to back here
Yeah,
in
man.
Bannermans. It was,
And as well as there was movement.
yes.
There was like proper full gig movement. Folk were happy and sweaty and falling over and having a great old time.
From the get-go as well. It wasn't
Yeah,
just
man.
like just the headline band. It was like
well, like,
troopers at the front
it was
all
such
night,
a really, really good lineup. Like, for me, coming from like liking the fast stuff,
Yeah.
it's about as good as it's going to get.
Yeah.
Because you got Daniel Waxoff opening up the show, and I think they played like 19 songs in their half-an-hour set.
Yeah, they are
And
fucking
it's
lightning
just
fast.
completely non-stop. It's like, this one's called Rambo. And then like 10 seconds later it's over, and it's like, this one's about Jean-Claude Van Damme. And then 20 seconds later it's over. But it's not grindcore by any means.
No.
It's
It's like skater happy.
it's like skater
madness.
thrash.
Yeah.
And the songs are really short.
So like early Municipal Waste when they were doing those ridiculous,
Kind
like the
of,
banging
yeah.
of Christ.
yeah.
Yeah.
In musical style, yeah, like thrash.
but then,
riffs. The songs are just dead short.
One of the best points of last night was the first time that I saw Kingpin. Because you've been telling me a
Yeah,
lot
I've
about
been
them,
talking-
and I've heard them a lot on, like, as I say, MP3 and disc and
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
like that. But this is the first time I've actually seen them in the flesh, and I
Yeah.
get it now.
Yeah,
I
they're
totally
really good,
get
man.
it.
Yeah, they're really good. It's always like, if me and the boys are at a gig that we're not playing out, or even if we're on the same bill as Kingpin, we're going to start some movement. That's just how
way
it
it
goes.
happens,
Like,
yeah,
I'm physically incapable of not doing that when they play.
Yeah, yeah.
And like, we're such good pals with them as well. There's that total like brotherhood vibe of like, oh, that's my best pal up there.
Mate.
As well as like the music being incredible.
Pretty much all of the Disposable crew were wearing Kingpin shit last night, which is quite funny as well.
Yeah, it was nuts.
It's like all you wear the
They were
same
great.
shirts. Like,
I'm pretty sure.
Like a fan club.
Whenever,
Yeah.
kind of, when they release merch, I'm sure the first 10 sales is me and all my pals.
yeah.
And it's,
I saw Kingpin at Bevy, Scotland.
Yeah.
And it was like really good show. But I think in here last night, with people kind of jumping around and going crazy, I think it suits that style a lot more actually.
Certain
much,
genres just
much more intense.
suit like smaller venues.
Yeah.
people surfing and things like that.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
they're
It's great,
so
it's great for that.
kind of simple in what they do. They don't have any songs that are like big anthemic kind of thing. So if they were to play on a bigger stage, they go, well, let's pick our bigger anthemic, more, that suit this. They've just got like their batch of crossover thrash, and that's what they've got.
But I've got a feeling that, like, without a shadow of a doubt, their frontman would have had no fucking bother, like, jumping straight into a bigger
absolutely
crowd
not.
and just going nuts.
Oh
Like,
no!
that's-
I mean, they've played some pretty big hardcore shows. You
Yeah,
know, like
man.
they played a sold-out show, I think, in France,
Cool.
the Super Bowl of hardcore or something.
nice.
That was like 300, 400 people.
Going
in a
fucking
big room
crazy.
going
Is that like
nuts.
the name of the
And there's-
festival, or
yeah.
the Super Bowl of hardcore?
Yeah.
That's fucking interesting. I have to look that up now.
Yeah, I think
Write that down.
They played that this year, sold out, and said, and they go down well in that kind of environment for sure.
Man. But that's it. It's definitely like, I think nowadays it really is the tip of the spear. As I say, you're doing a showcase of like Edinburgh, like pretty much most of the Edinburgh sludge and stoner bands. Like as you're saying, Glasgow, even though they did have like Shields Up and Corpses and things like that beforehand, that now they're really pushing the envelope. There's so many bands coming out of there now that it's like,
Yeah.
it's easy to find a gig and no doubt you'll find your new favorite band easy peasy.
Yeah.
These days, it's like such a vibrant scene, and as I say, that it's not like, well, I'm a grind and insanely slow doom fan. You're more of like a psych and stoner guy. You're a thrash fella.
Yeah.
Like you're more into, well, fucking weird.
Yeah.
Weird noise and fucking whatever.
I
But
enjoy
all of our
frequencies.
tastes are catered for.
Yeah.
All of our tastes are catered for in one way, shape, or form, and that's something to, I think, celebrate.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like a novelty to me to say that some of my best and favourite bands at the moment ever are underground Scottish bands.
Yeah.
Whereas before I'd have maybe thought of that as like a novelty thing, and now I'm like,
Yeah.
they just happen to be like my best pals as well.
Yeah.
But they are seriously musically hitting the spot for me, like compared to all the music that I listen to.
Yeah, because I've had this conversation with a few folk that like they'll always do that, like metaphorically, which decade would you want to be like born in, like 60s or 70s for the music taste? And I'm like, now, today.
man.
Today is absolutely fine with me because I can find as much music as possible, and I'm not meaning in the way of, oh, you can go on Spotify and go listen to like Muddy Waters. I mean like 2017, 18, 19, the releases that are coming out now are stellar.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I mean, surely the only realistic answer to that question is whatever is most up to date to now, because you can always just backlog.
Yeah,
If
but I
it's
was
the
also
70s,
saying-
you ain't got the 80s, 90s, and all the other stuff.
True, but as I say, they're still like reminiscent. There's folk that I know which will say that like Sabbath is the best, full stop, and there's nothing that can compare. And that's the thing, that they would rather not bother going to see any other band because it's not a Sabbath.
Right,
You get
okay,
what I-
aye.
You see what I'm saying?
Fuck that, man.
Yeah, exactly. I'm with that, man. I'm 100% with that.
I mean, I quite like Sabbath, you know, as much as the next guy likes Sabbath, but you know, you gotta listen to new bands.
Yeah, man. Because
Yeah, you
as I
gotta-
say, who's going to replace the Sabbaths, the Rolling Stones, the Zeppelins, the whoever else?
Yeah, because we're certainly getting to that period now where the greats, like the real original greats,
Yeah.
are either
Yeah, either dying or
they're dying or they're dying soon.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't
Or
want to
like
talk out of school, man, but like it was kind of depressing the last time I saw St. Vitus.
Right.
They were all old. Two of them were on crutches and stuff like
What,
that.
this most recent time?
No, it was the time before. It was
Oh,
in
no.
audio last year.
And what was it was a Doorplord or something with a support band for that
I
one.
think so. Yeah.
That a band like that, I think they're from Poland.
Yeah.
They did like a four-way split with three other
Oh, yeah, I
Polish
remember
bands
that
like
release,
Weedpecker
yeah.
and things like that. To me, when I listen to those kind of bands, they're doing something so new. It's just like I can't put my finger on it. It's like
Yeah.
it's like heavier than stoner rock. It's a bit still psychedelic, but it's got a bit of sludge in there as well.
Yeah.
It's just something different. So I
Yeah.
think bands are, pushing the.
Pushing that envelope.
Man, I still have to keep on going back to my like unsung heroes of the scene, which is Sapien.
Yeah.
Sapien by far and away have got that like sound which just ticks all the right boxes for me.
It's the band that like everybody in bands like Sapien.
100%.
We all kind of like super like respect the playing and stuff and how heavy it is and tight.
How could you not?
Yeah,
That's the
absolutely.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
me and Billy gush so much about this, so this is just a touchstone
Because
part.
they could play a gig with you guys at a thrash gig, say, and everyone
We've
would
played
enjoy
with them
it.
and it's been perfectly.
But they could do like a
Right.
stoner rock thing
Yeah.
with me, and
Yeah, they just sort of fit in.
People just respect the quality of it. You know?
Yeah, they can adapt themselves quite well while still very much just being themselves at all times.
Yeah, like I had the pleasure of seeing Sapien, Conjurer, and Weed Eater all in the same bill.
Wow.
And
Dude, that would be cool.
fuck me. Like, that was the thing that it was like, it was what you were saying beforehand of like, if you've got that relationship, like they're your friend, that's the thing that you can like, you can sort of feel that as well. It's like, go on, my
Yeah.
friend, you want to get them to that place as well. But them playing on that bill, from a third person perspective, you couldn't tell that they were like the local band. if
Yeah,
you get
that's
what I'm
it,
saying.
yeah.
They were literally duking it out with one of the UK's best bands at the moment, which is being Conjurer, and Weed Eater, which is like any stoner's like favorite
Yeah,
band at
yeah.
the minute. So this is the thing that it's like, if they're fighting it with these guys to like who's the best of that
Yeah,
night,
for sure.
it's like, dude, man, you've got something going there. You gotta keep on cultivating that shit. It's like, I
Yeah,
can't
man.
wait for their new album.
We're
cannot
certainly at a
fucking wait.
point in the underground scene at the moment where the quote unquote local supports are not really blatantly like the local supports.
Exactly.
'Cause I've been at a few where the local support is like a million miles away from the headliner.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you're kind of going, well, they're lucky to be playing this gig, you know, like without any disrespect to anyone or anything like that. But at the moment, like I can imagine if you were putting on a touring band,
Yeah.
you can cherry pick your local supports at the moment because there's so many great bands kicking about.
Yeah, man.
I think as well, like you're saying, like you're celebrating your 10-year anniversary. I think so many bands now are on that third, fourth album. The gear they've invested in is better. They're just a bit more seasoned. Some of them are really good at production. So you record a lot of your own stuff. So that comes across as a bit more pro. As well. So it's like just everything's just got a bit better over time. I think. Because I remember like the first time when I came to Edinburgh like 10 years ago. I remember seeing like one hardcore gig every 2 months at the Banshee when Neil used to put them on.
Neil Thomas,
And apart from that, I used to be like, what else is there? There was just nothing going on.
So, like, what was the catalyst then, do you reckon?
I think
what started it, where all of a sudden it was just like,
I guess certain promoters, definitely people like you and Cameron with Piss Christ and
Yeah,
stuff.
like that whole era, this was like a starting point. This at one point in time was known as HQ, headquarters, because you'd have like Neil Thomas, he was putting on gigs and he had Dead. Tony Martoni, he was also a barman that worked in here. I think he was a manager or something.
I want to say
Tony, I'm sorry if I got your rank wrong. But anyway, he started Wasted State, which now has June and Juniper Grave and all these bands on them, which is absolutely amazing. And then, as you've just said, like you and Cameron utilized this space, and there was another guy called Chris, also lovingly known as Bobag, which was the bass player in Lords of Bastard. But he used to book bands in here as well, and that was all around the same sort of time. Now, don't get me wrong, it wasn't as refined as it is now, but it was just that beginning few steps. There were some like really odd thrown together bills, but folk were still going. And I think that was the kind of shift. That was when it started to come together, and that was
maybe a few more genre-specific promoters, I think.
Yeah, like that kind of came in, but...
Inevitably pushing
ETA,
around their own
how long
band.
ago was that? That was about like 10, 12 years ago that Neil was here?
Yeah, probably,
Something like that.
He had the Ocean playing here in the Banshee.
And Earthless,
about 50 people watching the Ocean.
Coil guns as well.
Yeah, I remember, I think, I'm sure you won't mind me saying, but I'm sure the advance for that was something like £400, which at the time, when I was like 20, I was like, fuck. That is
shit.
like...
But that was it. It was like these guys in this bar in particular, because I've said it before and I'll say it again, this is the venue of Edinburgh. Like, I'm not trying to detract away from the other ones, but this one is the jewel in the crown. It's the proper lion's den.
I've been to this venue more often than not.
And I'm not disputing the fact that there are other good gigs going about. That's one thing. But if you get a good band in here, it's just totally different.
I think, like, I love Bannermans, and I think it's great, and I think the fact you've got the things like the flat here, it's always easy for bands to kind of kick about after and just relax a bit.
And they're also letting us do this in here, in Bannermans.
That adds to the vibe. I think, like, the Hellraiser night and stuff at the Banshee is amazing.
Like
getting down to that.
Lewis and Callus all doing Hellraisers. Like
they've been going on for years as well.
Man.
Like even Opium for myself. Like I love Opium just because I find Dino the sound guy. Is amazing. For me, he's just one of the best in Edinburgh.
I put on a handful of gigs here and there, mainly like thrashier kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I usually go to Opium just because I've got a good relationship with all the the staff and Dino and Ewan, who's now the booker there from Ifrian.
But you are right that like Dino was the, if you want to call it, the glue that made Opium what it is now.
You take Dino away from the sound desk at Opium, and I'm all of a sudden I'm
not
less,
interested.
Not interested, but
it definitely diminishes it.
Absolutely.
So sometimes I pick Opium because I think of the band who I'm putting on. So I think, especially maybe some of the more psychedelic and expansive sounds, I want that big room. I think it really adds to the vibe.
Totally.
Whereas sometimes you want the smaller, tighter spaces for certain styles maybe.
Well, this is just I kind of call this two boxes put together. Like this is two rooms made into one instead of it being just one big fuck off box. But I kind of like that because it kind of it splits the crowd. If you want to go and cross your arms and be all doer and stand in the back, you can. But if you want to get all rowdy, then there is that like little section that you can walk through, and then it is the lion's den. You're in now, and as I say, the sound is a bit different as well. Like the dB spikes as soon as you come through the door as well. It's like
it's weird. Like nuts. I don't understand the physics of how it works, but the moment you walk past the little archway bit, it's your head just gets blown off, and you're
like. There's been a few gigs as well that like they've redone the stage here, and they've actually put some like soundproofing in on the walls and stuff like that. But one of the first gigs that they had back was Elder and Cough that they played in here, and both of the PA speakers were like pointed pretty much at the perfect spot as you came through, and it was so densely packed. I just happened to stand there. And the bass was so fat. I was just like, dude, I gotta leave. I've gotta like just move from this one spot. I can't barely breathe. So yeah, like they've really like pushed the envelope and getting like Jaeger backing and new orange cabs and stuff like that. It's
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
It's the little things that push it that extra mile for me.
Yeah,
like in
absolutely,
here,
yeah.
it's not the best, the best, the best, but at the same time, it's the right stuff to make you sound.
I think what Bannermans has over any of the other venues at the moment is it's kind of got history,
Yeah.
and B, it's got a bit of attitude to it.
Yeah.
So like you go to Opium, and for me, it's kind of like this is like it's trying to be a metal bar.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I know it is a metal bar, but like.
For me,
You know,
it's-
a lot more of your young crowd
Yeah.
go there. You go to Opium on a Saturday night, and it's like people my age and younger usually.
Yeah.
Like I'm feeling kind of old
I
sometimes.
feel
when
out of
go.
place there,
Yeah.
man, by fucking miles.
For me, the beer
You
here
know,
is
so-
better. You've got like good real ale, whereas like Opium is like, you know,
Like that's the sign of an
tenants or
old man.
something.
Yeah, it's Tennessee.
Yeah.
It's got a fire in it. I love it.
So that's it, like Bucky Bombs, Jaeger. You know, like it's
Yeah.
it's like a club. You know, like it's
Yeah.
like more like a metal club when you go there on a Saturday night. Whereas here it's like it's a pub. You know, it's an actual pub with your real ales and all that. You know, your gentlemanly metalhead kind of stuff going on. You know,
But it
it's
is
very like quite an honest venue, I think.
Oh, 100%. And as well as they give us as good as they take. And so the thing is, if you're acting like a dick, they'll tell you to fuck off.
Yeah.
But that's why I call it the lion's den in here, which is folk will be very gracious and they'll watch you and they'll clap and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, for sure,
But if
yeah.
they don't like you, you'll fucking know about it. And if they love
Yeah.
you, they will be falling over themselves to fucking like kill each other and then buy your merch and all this sort of
I think one other thing that's maybe different from the past, maybe be the in-house bookers as well, because obviously you've got Christian here, then you've got you and Jack Sanisland was the the booker at Opium, and I think you've maybe got a few promoters like those guys putting on stuff during the week that maybe someone like myself wouldn't be able to do, just because of work and stuff like that.
Well, I've got like mega respect for Ewan because he's a young dude. Like I don't know how old Ewan is. He must be 21, maybe 22. Like he's
11.
he's a pup, you know. And that's coming from me. Who's 25.
Yeah.
And he's putting on shows there all the fucking time.
Yeah, he's
Like,
bitten off a lot.
He puts on a lot of stuff, and like he's not got that much money. You know, he's a young guy.
That would be my only fear with any kind of younger person trying to put on gigs is like you do get burned inevitably by
Oh, I
certain
mean, I know
gigs.
he's been
So I
bound
hope
on a
it-
few
you
gigs
know,
already, and he's only been the booker there for a couple of months.
Yeah,
maybe
like,
this year, maybe, or I'm not sure when he started. But
I've only just dipped my toe into this promoting thing, and I'm already having like palpitations over.
but
this
he's
shit.
got no fear.
Yeah.
And his heart's totally in the right place.
Yeah.
So like he's putting on a show here tonight in Bannermans. He's putting on a whole bunch of stuff this month, next month.
Yeah.
You know, all the time. You know, and he's not booking anyone that's
It's Shreddenborough.
gonna-
That's under, is it?
yeah.
That's his
Oh, yeah,
promotionary
just
title.
yeah.
Yeah.
And he doesn't book anyone that he knows is going to break the bank. You know, he's
Yeah.
not booking people that are wanting a £500 guarantee by any means. But you know, if you're putting on that many gigs, and a lot of them are kind of weekdays.
Yeah.
You know, he puts on a lot of gigs Wednesdays, Thursdays, and stuff. You got to watch because you can lose your money quick.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, I think
Fuck yeah.
that you know, big advances. That's the thing that sometimes you just go, oh god, no. You just like, you know, you get emailed by a booking agent, and you kind of go, you know, maybe they are worth that, but they want it on a Monday night or something, or a Tuesday night, and I just go,
absolutely.
I'm gonna have to give up work for the night.
But the
and I
other
can't
thing
be-
though
don't
is
wanna
that
do it.
like one of the apprehensions that I have is that I'm still in the loop, but I might be in my own little loop, if you get what I'm saying. Because as I was saying beforehand, when you've got these like really obscure and weird bands that I absolutely love, I would book them in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
But will that only mean that 2 people come?
Yeah, true.
Because the thing is, as I've said to Duncan before, that like, in my opinion, he's gained my trust in the way to be like, he'll book a band. I might not know what that is. I'm now going to go.
Thanks, Bailey.
Yes, it's all right. Beforehand, didn't earn it. But beforehand, it was that thing of like, he might book a band that I've never heard of before, but since Duncan's put it on, there's a high likelihood that I might like it now.
Yeah.
That's the sort of thing that there's pretty much zero risk now because of the association that we've got, that there's a likelihood that I'm probably going to like that band.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's now the thing that like me as pretty much a first-time promoter in June, and then there's going to be a few other. I've not built that reputation up to then have that risk to go and get more bizarre bands in. And I think that is the major debacle all the time. You might go, that's amazing, but does everybody else think
Well,
that?
Yeah, totally.
You bring that up. I don't know if you guys know Sander.
Yeah, that Dutch guy.
That Dutch guy, yeah. Well, he put on some gigs here like a couple of years ago, maybe like 4 or 5, I don't know, fucking ages ago.
Was that the Sonic Mass thing?
I mean, I don't know what he called it. But yeah, it was all these just like weird fucking bands that he put on. Yeah, and then
that was Ewan's thing actually.
Was it you?
a friend and I, we were just like, oh fuck, Sanders putting on a gig, and we're like, we know he's got good taste in music. You know, we see him at Roadburn and everything. So yeah, fuck, we'll go.
Yeah.
And, like we showed up, we're like, this is gonna be awesome. And then like fucking maybe 15 people show up, and you're like, wait, where the fuck is everybody? This is good shit.
Yeah.
And like he put on like 2 or 3 and then stopped because I think it was just too fucking eclectic for people.
Yeah,
But at the
that's
same
it.
time, you're just like, but this is still good stuff because he had like Girl Sweat on.
Yeah,
I think he had
man.
Nadia on at one point.
Yeah, Nadia was definitely one
And
of the
like,
members.
so there's all this stuff, really crazy stuff, but people were just like, nah, we don't know what the fuck this is, man.
Yeah.
Like, we're not gonna go.
Little
So-
sidebar, Sander does Echoes and Dust as well,
Oh, he
another
does.
great online like publication. They do a lot of like journalism about, well, all sorts really. It
Yeah.
could be
Yeah.
electronic or like kind of standardized like guitar stuff. But yeah,
Yeah,
you can.
he's into weird shit.
Yeah.
And he's pretty
His finger is
knowledgeable on
definitely on the
music.
pulse.
Yeah.
It is a shame, like when you have a gig and you know I saw a Yawning Man a while back here, and there wasn't that many people here.
coming again.
And to me, like I was like, these like a legendary.
Yeah.
These guys have been doing this for 20 years. Like, they're like the real deal.
Yeah.
And there weren't many people here. But then I think the band kind of knew it was during the week. They still enjoyed it. So
But this is the thing that, like,
You get
even
that.
when you, to me, if you talk about a band like Thou last year, to me, won all of music. They did like 4 releases. All of them are different from each other. They're fucking weird as hell. But for example, they went and played Roadburn, and for the life of you, the photographs looks like you couldn't get into the skate park or wherever they were playing because it was just hundreds of thousands of people just trying to cram in to go and see this thing. The same band is playing Wee Red Bar, which has got barely 200 people capacity and is still not sold out. So to me, that's a travesty. Because the thing is, it's a band which is, honest to God, at the top. If you write in Thou Band into Google, you'll read all these like 5-star reviews and amazing gigs that they've gone to.
Is that like a circumstance of maybe too many gigs or?
No, I think
or,
it's more
you know,
the fact that there is like the nicheism of it. They are a niche band,
Yeah.
so not everybody's going to know them. And also, I'm going to say that, like, to look at them as a band, it looks like one member has abducted the other members to play the music.
They're fucking music nerds.
Yeah,
That's
they're
what they
music
are.
nerds, but there's one really old dude that looks gnarly as fuck, that looks like the metal guy.
Yeah.
And then there's 4 other ones which kind of don't, and they're all a lot younger than him. So it looks like he was a child catcher for a bit.
Gathered these nerds was like, let's
play this horrible music. But yeah, I don't know, but that's the thing. To me, it's a band that I think should definitely get the exposure, and as I say, should be playing these bigger shows and blah blah blah, X Y Z. But as I say, somebody that's gone out on a limb, to go and book them after all the exposure that they've got at Roadburn, after all the exposure that they've got at other big festivals, they're still very difficult to sell. Is then the difficult thing. 'Cause
Well, like, I mean, who's booking them?
it's Nicholas Hurd that did Broad gigs and Scott Lyle. But I think Scott Lyle just does his own gigs from time to time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's good that they're coming, I think, to Edinburgh, because normally you have to go to fucking Glasgow to see bands like
Or
that.
even further afield.
Yeah, even further. So I think it's good that they're playing here, because the people who are going to be there, like the 100 sludge fans who probably reside in Edinburgh, are going to be there, and they're going to be like, this is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And then, admittedly, you'd want it to be a sold-out gig just so that the promoters and everybody are like, we did it.
yeah.
But at the same time, I think if you have all the people there that want to be there, and like literally all the sludge fans who are going to be there, and probably some grind fans, I think just the atmosphere will probably be like real good, and everyone's going to be like, fucking, can you believe this shit?
That's the point, because again, it's what we were talking about beforehand. It's the footfall.
Yeah.
And then, as I say, that like I always use the rule of 10%. So if you had 1,000 people, then 100 people would actually talk about it, and then 10 of them would actually then go and buy a T-shirt, and then probably one of them is going to buy the album and then put a post up online and all that sort of. It's you're using the rules of 10%.
Yeah.
So if you're then going and doing, as you just said there, that like you need that 200 people to go through to be like, fuck, we need to get them back. And even their supporting bands like Moloch. Moloch are like a staple diet of like English heavy as fuck sludge stuff. But again, it's like, I don't know how much they're known outside of that Northern English Hull, Manchester, Leeds, Liverpool sort of belt. And that's the thing, I find that an absolute shame. So, and we need to find a way to, as I say, revitalize and get people into these bands to go and see them.
I mean, at the end of the day, like, people can love music, but going to a gig where you don't know any of the bands is it's a difficult thing to convince someone to do.
Yeah.
And
No,
it,
I mean, not for people like us. We would just fucking go. And anyway,
Like
Wednesday gig, I'm there.
I think when you do book a bigger band, people just know who they are.
Yeah.
It does make it so much easier.
oh, absolutely, absolutely. And that's why there's all these people at these festivals that go and check out these bands. And then when these bands play a headline show on their own, there's hardly anyone there.
Yeah.
And it's like the whole sort of argument of, well, should they be playing to 1,000 people, but only 100 people are really loving it? Or should they play to 100 people and 100% of them are really loving it? Essentially, it's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
The only difference is that with a footfall of only 100, the promoters are suffering, and the pay is suffering, and all this, which is why it then doesn't grow in like terms of underground stuff. But these festivals can survive.
But
for
then
ages.
it's at the same time, it's money going out of the band's pocket, like petrol fare, feeding the guys, renting all the vans and all this sort of shit. So the likelihood of them, don't get me wrong, when you're coming to Scotland, it is a bit out of the way. Because when you're doing England, for example, you can connect so many bills in one go. To come up to Glasgow is a little bit out of the way for folk. So to come up and then to be like, there was only like 50 folk there. It's like,
maybe next time we'll not
saying
bother.
yeah, exactly.
I do think thou don't mind doing this specifically. Like, you know, some bands will be like, no, fuck you. We were headlining Roadburn. Why the fuck are we playing this bar? We want more. But I think thou have that ethic of like, we'll do this show with you. Like, I mean, I don't know if they maybe took like a cut and pay or something. They might, but I do also think they have that DIY attitude where they're like, we'll do that.
Yeah, totally.
We'll show up to your thing. Maybe, you know, let's say cut like 500 off the pay, and we'll do your thing because we want you to do well, and we want these people to see us.
I think some bands will do that for the experience, because recently I was in the island of Svalbard, and Manowar played Svalbard.
What? Like,
wait, we were there?
Yeah.
everywhere.
500 tickets, that's it. All 100 quid each.
Oh, Jesus.
And
I don't know how weird that is.
Yeah, but-
you get a smaller group of people to watch four guys in loincloths shout about war at you.
if you're a Manowar fan,
You're
you're going to fly to Svalbard and you're going to watch that gig.
To be honest with you, I'm not even a fan, and I'm thinking, why wasn't I at that gig now?
I mean, you think like, you know, maybe like the
Weird
weekend
shit.
before that they're playing like a 5,000 seater place in somewhere in Norway.
How do you
and then
think
they're
about
playing-
that as in terms of like the ethics of the business? Is that the right thing to do, to say we're going to start playing dead small gigs? You know, this band that usually played to thousands all of a sudden started saying we're only going to play 300 to 500 cap venues, but the ticket price is now $100 as opposed to $30. You know, like,
I don't know. Like, it's a kind of difficult one.
who's that helping really?
If you've just played Glasgow and you've sold out, you know, 1,000 capacity venue, next time you come back, you'd like to think you'd either do the same or do more. But then if they've never played, say, something random like a rock festival in the Shetland Islands or something, they might take a massive cut because they've never been to the Shetland Islands before and it's just be an experience.
Well, yeah, everyone's kind of
To be
got an
honest with you,
understanding
like,
for the business.
I've got more of a problem with, like, for example, the merch sales. Because, like, for example, I've heard about, like, Paul McCartney going to, like, the 100 Club in London, which is literally 100 capacity, and that's even with seats.
Yeah.
It's a tiny little place, and he would go and play Hyde Park, and then he would go and do the 100 Club afterwards.
like secret show kind
Secret
of stuff.
shows, yeah. I'm all for that, that's fine. But the one thing that I'm starting to get pissed off at is more of the merch side of things. So I've known people that have gone to like Slayer shows and stuff like that, and their hoodies are like fucking 80, 90, 100 bucks, or a baseball shirt for 125 notes. It's like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
Like,
But
you don't need that.
But ultimately, people are probably buying it, and that's
what I mean.
probably what's driving
like,
it.
so I don't really have a problem with the smaller venues. If you're passionate enough, you would have probably gone anyway.
Yeah.
Like, for the big show or the small show, it's then, once they're there, it's then treating them like the cattle market.
I mean,
buy
it can-
this thing, do that thing.
It kind of makes sense in terms of like these big bands want to guarantee that the right people will come to the show.
Yeah.
So if it's $100, your average Joe is going to go nah. But someone that's really loves that band and is keen on that band is going to go.
Yeah.
You know, and $100 to them is not that bad because they love the band so much they'll do anything to get there.
We've all done that thing where you've gone to a gig that's nowhere near where you live.
Yeah.
Spent like 10 times the amount on travel
Absolutely.
and
Oh,
hotel
yeah.
to go to a £10 ticket show. You know, we've all
Man,
done that.
the one that always stands out to me is the SWG3. That's the one which is in a shithole of a place to get to. It's a fair enough venue. It used to be an old TV studio, and that is perfect for gigs. But every time I've gone there, it's been a fucking faff. And it always ends in that little like butter time, which is just too late to get a bus to the train station. So everyone's running for taxis, and it's just fucking nightmare every time I've been there.
I mean, everyone has a horror story of getting stranded somewhere after a gig, you know. You
Is
suffer
it
for
for
the
us
art.
mainly just in Glasgow and you go, God damn it?
There's like in December there's like a gig in Stockholm with Greenleaf and Truck Fighters. I'm the biggest like Greenleaf fan ever.
Yeah. I thought I had a lot
Fighters
of,
are fucking good as well.
I thought I had a lot of merch and like Greenleaf t-shirts until I met him, and then he had like all of them. And it made me
So
sad.
good. But the ticket was like 20 quid. But then I looked at the flights and I was like, well, flights are about like 100. Hotels about probably 100.
But
And I
you're
thought,
creating like an adventure
Exactly.
as well as the show.
you
Like,
have
that's
a holiday
perfect, man.
in Sweden, which is nice.
Yeah, my girlfriend Eve, she did the same thing for Wardrunner. She went down to London, and it was in a chapel where everyone had to sit on the pews and all this sort of lot. But the thing was, she made like a whole weekend over it. I tried my best to get a ticket, but it sold out in like a minute and a half. But she managed to get one for herself. But she went and spent a couple of days to go and have an adventure, see Wardrunner, and then come back.
Yeah,
again.
what a great thing to have as part of like what is essentially now a holiday.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
We did that with Brutal Assault as well. Spent a week in Prague, went to like Kutna-Hora, where it's got all like the bone church.
Cool.
And then go to Brutal Assault afterwards. Fucking loads of fun.
That's like a good selling point for Edinburgh in a weird way. If you ever had something like a bigger
Come
event
see our
or
gigs.
something, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
it's like, you know, if you want to come to Red Cross Festival, you know, it's like
That's it. We're
you know,
relying too much on our own underground scene.
It's like
Get the London underground scene.
Edinburgh's
out
a,
there.
Edinburgh's a really nice place.
Well, don't get me wrong,
right? Most haunted city?
Yeah.
the Edinburgh Fringe has kind of got rebranded as London Comes to Edinburgh.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what happens. So why not?
But I mean, do you remember a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago now, maybe, like the Edinburgh Metal Party thing?
Yeah,
Which was
yeah.
like
EMP.
like really branded as part of the festival. You know,
Yep.
like it was in the brochure and stuff,
Yep.
and like Skin Dread headline and stuff. Like maybe that's a thing that you could do in that period of time.
Yeah, man.
Right.
Because I don't know about you guys, but like for me being in a band, the gigs kind of dry up in August.
No.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
every venue just essentially turns into like a fringe festival venue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's print that cash. It's pretty much what they're saying.
Yeah, totally.
I did
fair
two
play. Why
gigs
wouldn't you?
here actually last August, and I think people just aren't like psychologically ready for a gig in August. It's like you can't see a gig in August, so
Well, also
matter
as
how well
well,
you promote
there's
it,
so
it's
much
just like
more
it's a weird
competition
thing.
because don't get me wrong, even doing like the flyer game and the poster game now,
Yeah.
and the thing is that's difficult. So let alone that there's what like 2,500 venues with say at least 5 people on at each venue every day. So that exponentially adds to it all, and then you're trying to then promote your show in all of that.
Yeah.
It's just
Should do a local. I don't want to say like a locals only gig, but like at the third week of the Fringe, be like, come to this gig. It's fuck the Fringe, and it's just like grindcore power violence. And everyone just shows up in like Leith Depot if they still open, and everyone goes, I fucking hate the Fringe.
Well, I think a lot of
Market
people
it that way.
were really invested in the EMP thing when it was
Yeah.
part of the Fringe, just because it was like, wow, here's something that I actually give a fuck about in this in this brochure
In all of
of
this.
thousands of shows.
yeah, because that was Marius Tumler.
Yes.
he was a good man. I used to actually stay in a flat with him.
The heaviest.
Yeah, Marius is a good lad.
Good lad.
The second Heavy Scotland that was cancelled. Was that not going to be in August? I can't remember if it was now. Is that going to be in the
It was there or thereabouts.
was that
maybe
was that the
September.
vibe? Maybe Caleb was
to
going
be
for
honest,
that
it
one.
was-
It was.
I don't know.
been
It
a
was
while.
going to be in the second half. I think maybe September, and then the dates clashed exactly with Lords of the Land.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So then it got rescheduled for like the following year in the first half, like May or something.
Yeah.
And then it got cancelled.
Yeah.
I went to
Yeah,
the
there was
first,
a whole
went to
fucking
the first
debacle
one actually.
about that,
It was
yeah.
I enjoyed it, but there just wasn't enough people.
The first one.
Corn Exchange is a hard venue though, man. Like, it's a
See,
hard
we
venue.
played it, right?
Yeah, you were first on,
So
weren't you?
like, we were on after Lucifer's Corpus, I think. I can't remember.
Alright.
We didn't open up, but we were like second
Yeah,
on.
second on. Yeah.
and it's just a really weird one for us to talk about, because it was like
You probably played in front of as many people as you've ever played in front of.
in a room that looked empty.
Yeah.
Right? So it's weird. So like the numbers for us were quite good, and like the name of the venue, you go, we played at the Corn Exchange, you know, and you know, I say that to my mum, and she goes, "Holy fuck, that place is huge." And
we've made it, Mum.
you know what I mean? But essentially, when you were there while we were playing, it's pretty empty in there. The place is fucking huge.
Yeah,
It's
so
massive.
I enjoyed it. Like I still had a good time, but it was a bit odd.
It was it was just a weird weekend, right?
Yeah.
And like
I think it was too big too quick, is all I can say.
I totally agree, right?
Yeah.
And now there's this big black cloud over the whole thing, which was essentially for us like a really good experience.
Yeah.
You know, but whenever we talk about it, people are like, "Oh yeah, that was a whole fucking palaver, and then it was fucked up, and everyone hates."
The only thing that
there,"
I'm
you know?
worried about is, like, as I say, personally, I don't really give two damns about what happened and who was involved.
No,
and
of
who
course
wasn't.
not.
No fucks given. The only problem is that there was a roster of quite big bands that were keen to come to Edinburgh. That then fell through. So the likelihood of bands from, for example, like Carcass is on Metal Blade, they must have had management to sort that out. That most probably is not going to happen again for a while.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing that I'm reeling about, is the fact that
the
we
backlash.
the backlash to it, considering that we were so close to having the thing that we've always wanted.
Yeah.
And now it's just falling apart. I think we're
was-
actually maybe a step or two back from where we actually were.
Yeah, totally. But it's kind of, I feel like there has been some kind of repercussion in the underground scene here because of it. Because there was kind of like a weird community vibe in hating that the person that was doing the whole Heavy Scotland thing.
I was always
The
very
first time I've
supportive of it, actually.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I thought it can only be a good thing.
Yeah.
You know, I think maybe one problem was that there weren't enough local bands on it. Maybe a few more would have been nice. Because it was just literally you and...
I think it was just too big too quick.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now that the main reason for the unsuccess of Heavy Scotland was she didn't start a community vibe here. And all the branding was Scotland's new biggest heavy metal festival, and everyone here in Scotland is going, well, I ain't never heard of the fucking thing before. So what are you talking about, biggest festival in Scotland? You don't really exist yet, right? So instead of going to the grassroots and branding herself that way and be like, look, you don't know who I am. I'm trying to bring these big bands in. You know, what can we do to help? Let's do some market research. Let's go to underground shows and help. Let's get in underground bands and give them this opportunity. Fair enough, we got it. But like, not many other bands did.
Yeah, you and Lucifer's, that's it.
And then it didn't really work like that. It was kind of just, it appeared as this big thing. And I don't know about you guys, but the first thing I think when something like this just crops up and we get asked to play is total skepticism.
Yeah, too good to be true.
Because we're like, does this even exist? You know, when we got asked to play. You know, and we had to get really quite involved in it just to make sure the legitimacy of the whole thing.
But that's the thing. I think though that with this whole promotion thing and getting bands in, there is always going to be an ebb and a flow. And I will definitely respect the person that will really push hard to try and get the big stuff in. But at the same time, I think you're right that you need to build up to that.
Yeah, I mean, I totally respect the woman that was doing the whole thing, and I always have and still do get along quite well with her. Not that I'm in touch with her anymore, but you know, there was during the whole backlash
Still pleasant.
and stuff. No, I wasn't so keen.
I wasn't so keen on the backlash, actually. I remember thinking to myself, like, she's not exactly jumping for joy that it's been cancelled.
Yeah, exactly.
So
of course
I'm
not.
feeling a bit
But
sorry
people,
for her.
as I say, people are angry and confused. So what do? They just lash out.
It was an internet thing as well, man.
Yeah,
because
most
there
of
was,
it, yeah.
This photo in circulation of her like 2 weeks after it was cancelled on like a rubber dinghy at some festival in Europe. And it's like, look how she's spending your money, right? Because this was before people had all been refunded. And as far as I'm aware, everyone got refunded for it, right?
I was refunded.
There's no scam involved, right? It just went tits up. It's not.
But
a scam.
that's it. Is these people are wanting to get the sensationalized story.
Yeah, it's just
It's like
people
just didn't have the fucking balls to do it themselves, and then someone went and did it, and it fucked out, and they went,
Man,
I'm angry, and you're like, well, if
And
you
here's a
don't
festival
like it,
like
do it yourself.
she had booked months and months in advance, right? That's not other people's money that she's away spending. You know.
For me,
So,
like any
you
of
know.
those like headliners, like she had like Children of the Bottom,
Carcass.
Like, if that had just been the headliner, and the vast majority of the bands had been Scottish bands, you would have gone mental to support that, wouldn't you? You'd be like, oh my god. You know?
To be honest, just Carcass. I think when I first saw it, I went, fucking Carcass is coming? I need to get a ticket. It's like, oh wait, I'm broke as shit. Sorry.
Always are.
Yeah, always.
It was definitely just too, like, aiming for the stars too early, right?
Yeah.
But she should have cut it down and had less big bands in a smaller venue and sold the fucking thing out, man.
Man, we could
any
keep
festival.
picking at threads and
Yeah,
But let's turn this around and make it a bit more cheery. We're going to wrap this up, all right? So we've kind of gone over a few things that have just been in the past. What's coming up in the future? Like what's coming up that cunts can go and see before the next podcast where we talk about the thing that's just happened.
This comes out next week, Sunday. Opium, Juniper Grave, and
Yeah, what's it? Greeda's on that bill as well, isn't he?
Greedy, yeah.
Greeda that's not played in ages. Stu Gordon that does some of our recordings at Wall of Sound. He's going to be jangling on guitar, so that'll be a good one.
Greeda are one of the first Edinburgh metal bands I ever heard of.
Yep.
They must have been around for a while, right?
Yeah, so it was after the Tyrant Lizard Kings. They then separated ways, and then that's where Greeda started. So yeah, a good chunk of time ago. Like.
Yeah, for an Edinburgh band, I haven't heard of them playing for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're another certain death style band where they just do a practice and then that's fine.
Yeah, and then appear and play a great show.
Okie dokie.
There's also the Everest Queen playing with Hellraiser on Black Skull Services.
Yeah.
That kind of roster of bands.
John Paul Davis from Conan's management service. What a legend.
You know, the Hellraiser nights are always good. That gig will be savage. Sapien, it'll be amazing.
Yeah, I've got the June 8th is Mr. Marseille, Gendo Akari, Wolf Sermon and Visara, Banshee Labyrinth, lots of aggro grindness if folk want to come down to that. It seemed to be pretty interesting with folk online. The interest seems to be pretty big, so
I'm keen.
should be a pretty busy gig, so get down early because it seems like it's going to be pretty sweaty by the end
Can
of
I
the
just
gig.
give you money now for a ticket?
Yeah.
You'll
probably be one of my minions.
There you go, there you go.
Yeah,
I'll work the door.
Yeah, I'll sub you in for something.
Like, do
it'll
it.
be fine.
Is that the same day as Vomfest?
Day after one.
The day after Vomfest?
Yeah.
When's Vomfest? The 7th, right?
No, that's the 8th. It's a Saturday, and the 9th is a Sunday, which is my
Who's
gig.
playing
okay.
Vomfest?
Vomfest
Vomfest
is
is
the guys
Angst.
from Scott.
Is it Magnus at Scumples?
So the Scumpulse dudes that do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but then you've got Fetal Juice,
That's right.
Live Burial, you guys.
Yeah, Repulsive Vision, us, Tommy Concrete, Iron Altar.
Iron Altar, yeah.
So it's a big all day of
I might have to try and get to
extreme
that.
shit.
Yeah, because originally I
Vomfest,
thought it was going to be on 2 days, where actually it's just a full, solid, packed day. Like, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just one full day of.
Yeah.
What's the
Mental
general
extreme.
genre we're looking at? Like brutal death and
Crusty, blackened madness.
Fast stuff.
Yeah, if you put blackened in front of any genre,
that's
We're
the one.
the-
All right, blackened.
We're the least crusty band on that.
yeah.
Just don't
And
shout for a
maybe
week.
Iron Altar as well.
Yeah, I was
but
gonna say, you got a few other things there like Sludge, Iron Altar.
Live
Concrete.
Burial will be right up your fucking alley.
But in terms
Dig,
of like
dig.
the moment after we play, I think it's Scumpulse, and from then on you're looking at like crusty
Banger
thrash,
after
crusty
banger
metal,
after
yeah,
banger after banger.
Sweet.
But the lineup's pretty fucking
Pretty
good.
fucking
It's
savage,
pretty
yeah.
fucking good.
Or was it a tenner on the door type thing?
Yeah, tenner on
I
the
believe
door,
it is a
guys.
tenner on the door, yeah.
That's decent.
So yeah, that gives you enough shit to fucking sink your teeth into. So do what we've been doing and get your feet through the door and come and see some of these gigs and maybe even see him on stage or go to one of his gigs or maybe even one of ours.
Absolutely.
So yeah, let any one of us know if you want to be a part of the podcast. It's just going to be more similar shit like this, talking about bands, venues, gigs, yada yada yada. In some time, we're probably going to do more specific ones, like a guitar one or a tech one or something like that. So if you want to give me an idea of a good
thrash
podcast
metal one.
idea, yeah, thrash metal. If any of you guys have got an idea about a podcast, shoot us a message, and we might be able to sort one out in the future. But apart from that, go see some shows, guys, and have a good one.